So can a $120 greenhouse like this actually be good? We'll take a look at this one and see what some of the flaws and takeaways are after putting together a $120 greenhouse. So today I'm putting up a cheap greenhouse. This is a really inexpensive one, I think just over $100. And we're getting two of these grow beds inside. We couldn't really move them to fit more in, but we could actually fit, I believe, six inside, so 3 on each side if we wanted to. But I wanted to get a quick video of the structure before I put the skin on it so you can kind of see how it's made. One of my complaints is I think the spacing here is too wide and there should probably be another cross member right about there. Again, this is a really cheap system. There's a few things I'm going to try to improve as I build it. One of those things is going to be the tie downs that come with it are terrible. And then the other complaint that I hear or see a lot online is that snow will actually collapse this. It'll start to build up and collapse. This specific one has a better slope than some of the others, because some of the others are literally a hoop and there's a flat spot for snow to get stuck. The other thing is being here in Tennessee, we don't get a lot of snow, and when it does snow, somebody could easily come out and just kind of bump the top, take a broom or something, and from the inside bump it, and the snow should just slide right off. So it shouldn't accumulate too much, and just being conscious of that on the couple of snows that we get per year, that should alleviate that issue. Now the plastic went on pretty easily. It only took a few minutes. However, when I was doing it, I would say it would be a lot easier to do with the second person. The wind kept grabbing it and trying to pull it back, so that made it take longer and be a little bit harder, but it was pretty easy overall. My real complaint here is the tie downs were so poor, and the tie downs could have been done in such a way that it would be easier both to tie and to get this nice and tight as I'm tying it. So I was disappointed on both fronts there. So from what I've figured out with putting this whole thing together, I have some concerns about how it comes in the package, and I am doing some things very different than how they recommend and how it's set up to be done, that I think will make a huge difference in overall function and strength. There's like a tab along the bottom for all of these sides, and instead of flaring it out and covering it, what I'm doing instead is kicking it in and then putting weights on the inside, and then we'll also put wood chips on the inside, but I'll explain that a little more from the inside. I just wanted to show from the outside that that's being done differently than it otherwise would be. And I still have yet to put the tie downs on the corners. So one of the first issues that I have is, instead of having a human-sized door that you can open, it's this giant flap. And I think what I'm going to do is set it up so that you can just open the corner and walk in. And if you need to, you can pull the whole flap out. But ideally, you're just going to open this slot and walk in. So I'd like a human-sized door instead of a giant door. I think that would be much more appropriate. But it does have a door where you can see the secondary zipper here and here. You can open that, and then this is all screen, which is nice. And then all of these windows along the side are also screen, which is really helpful in that in the summer you can open it up, or on warm days in the winter you can open it up but not have to worry about insects and things getting in and damaging your crops. So here's the setup inside, and I'm going to cover some of the things that I needed to do to modify this to make it work better. One issue is the connection for the cover is these Velcro strips, and those Velcro strips just fasten to the end, and there's one at the bottom, one there, another one there that I actually need to tie still, one up there. But the issue there is that those can slide up and down easily, and it doesn't pull the top taut, so this top part doesn't end up getting properly pulled taut, and you can have the ends or the bottom corners start to drift up, especially if you get any type of snow load in here. So what I've done is I've taken what were intended to be the tie down wires, which were really way too small for that, and just used them to cinch down. So I tied up and around where the Velcro is, and then used that to pull down to these cross braces. That's keeping everything much tighter and stopping it from moving nearly as much. And then I've got these ties as well that I have an issue with. I've tied them, but they should be able to tie in such a way that I can kind of cinch them down and pull this system tight. And because of how they're made, you really can't. So I will likely take some more of this and take it from here and tie it down to the ground, or tie it to a weight like this. That should both keep it more taut as well as help hold this down. And I'm still going to do the ties on the outside corners, so it's just an added rigidity. So if I were to have assembled this the way that it was suggested in the instructions and the way that you naturally would based on the product that I received, this thing would blow away in a day or two, and if we got any type of snow or rain, it would likely collapse. So modifications are definitely needed to get a reasonable product. Again, in this corner, I've gone up above the Velcro and then cinched this really tight so that pulls that down, keeps this outside plastic fairly taut, not as taut as I might like. If you're going to install one of these and leave it permanently, I would also suggest taking maybe 1x4s and running them up through here the whole length. So you get a 1x4 by 12 foot, run it the whole length, and before you put the cover on, I'd run self-tapping screws through that 1x4 into this, and that would increase the rigidity, also increase the ability for this plastic to stay there instead of drooping down if it gets snow or rain on it. I also might consider, if I've got 1x4s here and here, running some type of cross brace across. This isn't too bad, but I could see in really heavy winds not having those cross braces being an issue. So in here I've put cinder blocks, rocks, and things on this skirt that I've kind of tucked in. I'd like to put additional cinder blocks as well as potentially pavers and wood chips, so piling wood chips on the corners, and that should keep a lot of the air and things from blowing up underneath, and I think that will make a huge difference. So these T-posts are going to be used as an anchor point for the ratchet straps and for the entire device itself. We have tabs right there that are going to allow me to attach the ratchet strap and strap it down to the T-posts, and that should both anchor the entire building but also pull that lining nice and tight. Each of these T-posts are put slightly out from the corner so that it extends both basically a 45-degree out from either side, and I'll show that up closer to make that make more sense. But what that allows me to do is I'll be pulling in 4 opposite directions, which should pull this system as taut as possible, which is really important for both snow load and for wind catching it and causing the plastic to flap around. So these are the stakes that came with the greenhouse. You can see this is the rope that came with these tiny stakes for the greenhouse. These will do nothing. Do not use them. They're totally useless. Instead, I'm going to be putting T-posts in here at each corner. The T-posts are going to be slightly out from each corner at a 45 degree from either side wall. And then from those, we're going to attach ratchet straps. So a quick commentary here. You can see me moving these ratchet straps down because those straps on the side that I was trying to attach to rip off far too easily and would be completely useless. So I'm cutting small slits in the plastic and then attaching the ratchet straps directly to the metal bracing here. So here's how the ratchet straps are working on the T-post. Basically, you can hook them around the back side of the T-post and they'll catch on these bumps. And then obviously you can ratchet strap down until it's the right tightness. One of the things that I found is these connection points are absolutely worthless. Even the slightest bit of tension on that will rip right off, which means if I tied the ratchet straps to that, this whole thing would just go blowing away in the wind anytime we had a slight wind. So what I did instead, which accomplishes a much better option than the pieces up top, is I just cut like a little tiny slit in this right above this seam so that's going to be somewhat reinforced. So if this pulls up, it's going to hit that seam and not be able to pull up, and that's going to help keep this whole thing taut. But then all I had to do was cut one or two of these little reinforced pieces in the plastic so I don't have a big hole, and then the ratchet strap hooks over one of the braces right where there's an angle brace, so this keeps it really strong and really well anchored to the ground. And that also helps me pull the entire thing down a little bit, so that where I'm pulling the plastic underneath the bottom as skirting, it's going to stay tighter and not blow around or get pulled out as much. Well, it is bright and a little bit uncomfortable in here, middle of a winter day. It's getting pretty warm, so this will actually have to be opened up, but I hope that gives you an idea of what you can do with like a $120 greenhouse, and some things that you can do to make it last a lot longer and be a lot stronger, because definitely if you set these things up the way that they are shipped, you will have major issues right away. So here are my takeaways. One, it is completely inadequately anchored, and the anchors that are sent with it are completely inadequate. You're going to need to modify those to make it work. Two, if you live in an area with heavy snowfall, this roof will likely collapse, and it's not a great idea. Three, there's a few other modifications inside that can be done that would really help strengthen the structure and make it more viable. And four, the door sucks. It's a terrible door. I don't know if there's a great solution for that, but what we're doing is just unzipping one side and going in that side, rather than trying to unzip and roll up the entire thing every time we want to go in and out. Those are my main takeaways. I'd love to hear what you've come across and what you've done for your cheap greenhouses to make them more viable.